With lockdown easing and things getting back to normal, more and more people are going to be hitting the road for work. After 6 months living with my Kia E Niro for both business and pleasure, I'm going to show you exactly why it now makes perfect sense to go electric if you drive for work. After a year when we've all mastered working from home, it might seem a little strange to be talking about driving for work, but for me and many others it's still a necessity, and as things ease up I'm sure we're going to be doing lots more work miles. So is it worth making the switch to an electric car for these miles? Well, let's look at the benefits if you're a company car driver. There are still about 870,000 registered company cars in the UK. This is where your employer gives you a vehicle and you can use it for both work and personal usage. Now, with a company car, you pay something called benefit in kind tax, or BIC, and the big benefit of going electric is a massive reduction in this tax. As an example, my Kia E Niro comes with a BIC rate of just 1%, which means you'll pay about £150 additional tax over a 2-year period. Compare that to a traditional company car like a BMW 3 Series, similar list price, you are going to pay a whopping 33% BIC, which means over a 2-year cycle you're going to pay something like £5,000 additional tax. If you're an employer, then there's also a benefit as well. With lower running costs, fuel costs and road tax, you have to account for significantly less money with an electric car than you do with petrol or diesel one. In that same comparison between the Kia and the 3 Series, it equates to about £6,500 in favour of the E Niro for an employer over, again, a 2-year period. Now, not everyone who drives to work has a traditional company car. I myself get paid a car allowance, I have my own car through that, and then I charge the miles I drive back to my company. Now, there's a couple of things to note here. One is that HMRC allows a maximum claimable rate of 45p per mile. That does not depend on the fuel type of the car. The other thing is that your company isn't actually obliged to pay that maximum rate, so do check exactly what you can claim before you'd make any calculations on this. But the big benefit here of driving electric is in the difference of what you spend and what you can claim. Of course, we all know that broadly per mile, electric cars are cheaper to drive. I'm running at about 5p per mile in my Kia compared to my old BMW, which was about 11, 12p, but quite dependent on fluctuating fuel prices. So it's quite easy to see there that if you can claim 45p a mile, but you're only spending a third of what you would in a traditional combustion engine car, then that money is going straight back in your pocket. Now that obviously assumes that all of the other running costs, which are wrapped up in that 45p a mile, are broadly similar, but I'm kind of seeing that to be the case as well. I haven't spent anything more on my electric than I did on my diesel car, and to be honest, I've seen that from most other people's experiences as well. So when looking at costs, there's really only one winner now. If you're looking at spending the same amount on a petrol and diesel car, then the running costs and fueling costs are going to be significantly cheaper in an electric. So if you're thinking about a new car, then electric's really got to be the way to go. But of course, there are practical considerations. What about if you're rushing to get to that important meeting and you're worried about running out of charge? Well, to be honest, that's a bit of a fallacy. And unless you are really poor at planning, it's unlikely to happen. Recently, I drove a 500-mile round trip over 3 days from London to Plymouth. Now, if you know the UK and the southwest of England, it's not exactly a place blessed with motorways, service stations, or a huge amount of driving infrastructure. But leaving with a full battery, one stop to grab a coffee and quickly charge for 20 minutes on the way down, I was absolutely fine to get to my destination, where I plugged in at my hotel, awoke the next day with a full battery, went about my work for a couple of days and then headed home. Stopped in exactly the same place on the way home and I was perfectly fine with enough charge. Now, of course, that's going to vary and people are still going to be nervous, but I would really say you can boil it down to this. If you can guarantee access to at least 2 chargers reliably on your journey or anywhere that you need to go, then you're going to be fine. Of course, it's best if you can charge at home or at work before you go, and there's more and more chargers becoming available, more and more companies looking at installing them in their workplaces. So the argument around practicality, again, is starting to wane. I certainly have absolutely no regrets about switching to electric for either personal or business. It just hasn't been a problem. So look, If you've still got questions or uncertainties about driving an electric car for work, then stick them in the comments below. But if this video has been helpful, please give it a thumbs up and of course subscribe to the channel. Evie does it for more videos like this on the practicalities of electric driving.